What's up, LinkedIn community? This is Adam Conrad, founder and CXO of Great Recruiters, and I'm joined here with Aaron Grossman, CEO of TalentLaunch. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent now that I figured out how to get on.
It's always technology is always the challenge. It's awesome.
Yes.
Hey, just a little background here on Aaron. He has been a pioneer in changing the way staffing firms operate and maximize efficiencies and profitability through really, I love the tech stack, the consistent processes, and hiring great people. And so today, really excited to hear his take on really the evolution of the talent marketplaces and hiring platforms. We are all in the midst of a lot of change, a lot of technology in the recruitment industry, and there's a lot of things on the horizon. And I think Aaron's got a great perspective of what he's done with his own business and where he sees the future of staffing going. So I'm excited to jump into that. Before we get going, Aaron, why don't you just give a little background on yourself, on TalentLaunch, and just let everyone know who you are.
Sure. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Aaron Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of TalentLaunch, which is a nationwide network of independently operated staffing and recruitment companies that are under common ownership. And like you said, what we try to do, the essence of the network is that we acquire very successful staffing firms that are throughout the country, and the founders typically don't have a succession plan, and we really want to be their succession plan for them. So our platform allows those companies to maintain their brand identity, but we when they come into our network, we have this, as you mentioned earlier, this tech stack and this tech-enabled shared services platform that embeds itself into these very successful companies and supercharges them, and really not only supercharges them for the now, but enables them to show continued success in the future as we look at all the innovation that's coming into our space, and really trying to stay ahead of the game and applying it into our technology stack, into our infrastructure, into how we work, so that our staffing companies that are within our network remain successful and remain at the top of their game in the communities they serve. So we're roughly about a $200 million agency when you collectively include all of the revenues from all the companies in our network. Our goal is to support 100,000 lives through this network, by 2028, which would equate to about $1 billion in revenue. So that's our BHAG. If you don't know what a BHAG is, that big, hairy, audacious goal. So that's what we're striving to achieve. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. So our company is actually headquartered here. Have 5 wonderful children, a beautiful wife. My father-in-law and his girlfriend have been staying with us for the last 3 weeks because of the Florida hurricane. They sold their house in Chicago about 4 months ago, moved down to Punta Gorda, Florida, and then this happened. So they've been with us. So fortunately, we have so we're called a Hotel Grossman is the place now that we're
that's your next venture, right?
That's the next venture. But yeah, so and like you said earlier, we've really thought about technology as a true ability to innovate in how we work and how we perform in our space. Several years ago, we created a technology that was founded out of our business called EmployeeStream, that eventually morphed into changed their name to Able, and now is part of the Bullhorn family as of this January. And so it was really exciting to kind of create a technology that really helped elevate the experience that staffing companies were able to provide their talent, and how they onboarded them to get them ready for work. And we had over 200 staffing companies that ultimately signed up for it, some of the biggest in the country. And Bullhorn, saw the value in that and made that a big part of their tech stack going forward.
And what I love, I think, we're both very technology minded, right? Coming from staffing, building Great Recruiters yourself. I think the same time we're driving EmployeeStream. So it's great what a great success story that somebody's in our industry, understands our problems, is putting the resources behind building it, because there's so many people out there that are trying to sell so much into our industry because there's so many opportunities. But love the fact, it was built by somebody who understands this industry so well. And obviously the success that it's had in the acquisition has just proven that. So kudos to you and the team over there.
Yeah, to that point really quick too, which was fascinating to me, is that the overall vision for that company. So it was run, it was venture backed and it had its own infrastructure, own CEO. But the vision of how it was created, which really came from, like you mentioned, like somebody like me who had the staffing expertise, really built it with that in mind, and they never really had to vary a lot from that focus, from that original vision, which was really cool to see. I think building technology from the lens of the audience, from us, I think really adds a tremendous amount of value to others within our industry who want to procure those types
Yep.
of solutions.
Yep. No, I love that. And hey, just I always love to ask, because let's face it, nobody grows up as a little boy or a little girl thinking to themselves, I'm going to be in the staffing industry. I want to be a recruiter. So how did you get into this crazy industry?
Just like everybody else, you fall into it, right? Like I had
Fall into it, fall in love.
I graduated the finance degree from Miami University in Ohio. I was a wrestler in college, and my first job out of college was in the insurance industry as an insurance broker on the commercial side. So I was like insuring like fitness centers. That's what I was doing for the first 2 years of my career. Never heard of the staffing industry. Couldn't stand, culturally couldn't stand where I was working at. It was a small family-owned agency in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I just put my resume online, and Robert Half, account temps called me, and I went there, and I'm like, what's this? What people pay? Wait, companies pay other companies to find them talent? Why? I don't understand it. But at the time that I'm in Cincinnati office, there was probably 70 people in there. Most of them were kind of early on in their career like me, and I just felt comfortable just like kind of getting into it and see what it was about. And I just loved. I love the craziness of it, not knowing what every day is a new day. And at the end of the day, you get to help people. Like you really are helping people.
Yeah.
And that was important to me. I do try to lead a purpose led life. Our purpose statement is to motivate the world to realize its potential. And I just think there's so much you can do in our industry to accomplish that. And so I fell in love with it instantly.
That's great. I still think there's a lot of untapped potential in our industry, and I'm excited to see where that evolves. Hey, before we get into kind of the future and the evolution of what you see, can you talk a little bit about, you spent a lot of time and energy building out a tech stack that you felt was consistent and checked all the boxes for your organizations you brought them in. Can you share a little bit about what that tech stack looks like for you guys today?
Yeah, I mean, we use, like, for example, what we use, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Obviously, Great Recruiters is one of the solutions that we've chosen to partner with to become part of our tech stack. But Bullhorn is our kind of centerpiece that we build everything from, and obviously Able, as I mentioned before, which is our onboarding solution. Great Recruiters is really, it does two things for us. One, internally, a lot of it's around recognition. We want to recognize those recruiters that are working throughout our network. We want to have a platform to recognize the good things that they're doing, and what better way to have that recognized than from those people that they support and serve, right? Their customers and their talent. And so it's a great way to inspire them, to show them, especially when you think about the remote work environment that most of us are working within. We don't have that same in-person connection as we did prior to COVID. And so how do we recognize people? How do we make people feel special, even if they're not in an office that we can touch, see and touch and feel? And I think your product, for example, gives us that opportunity to do that. And it also helps us self-regulate our experience. Like it helps us judge, are we doing the right thing for our customers? And are we getting that feedback from them so that we can know when we may need to maybe make pivots around what we do and how we do it, so that we can do it better? And go ahead.
No, I mean, I think I love that you said that, because I mean, that's been a big piece of us, is like creating that transparency. A lot of staffing firm websites, you go to them as a candidate or as a prospective client, a lot of them say the same thing. It's, how do you prove what you're committing to on the website? How do you prove that you have the resources, you have the right people? And so it's great to hear that it's working so well for you. And I mean, it's what it was designed for, right? Get feedback down to the desk level, where the experience is driven. And I've always thought, you can ask the people you place, but that only maybe is 5% of the people you engage with, but you're creating an experience for 100% of them. And it's staying connected to understanding. And I love what you guys are doing around the awards, the recognition. I think you were sharing, being the CEO, being able to share a testimonial that exhibits the core values, I think does just kind of lift up that organization. So it's great to hear you're using it that way.
Oh yeah, and so I know our operating companies find a lot of value in being able to promote in that regard. So definitely appreciate that. We're really big on automation, which will be kind of the connection point to these talent platforms and hiring marketplaces, things of that nature. But so we're big on automation, and we think of like whether you're using Sense or Herefish, those are two great tools to help automate some of your workflow. We use things like Daxtra and HireEZ to help with our sourcing of talent and to help create automation there and to make things a little bit more efficient. We just started using, which was a big investment into Phenom. So we've kind of re-architected all of our websites using Phenom, so that a lot of these companies, if they were truly independently owned and operated, would never be able to afford some of the technology tools we're able to embed into their environment. But because they're part of a larger network, we have the ability to procure these kinds of technologies and provide it to them at a much lower cost point. And so that just brings artificial intelligence. It really kind of meets talent at the point of entry, so that we can have this really talent engagement scenario platform that's really kind of working behind the scenes to help us get more talent into our pipeline so that we can help them find jobs. So, and there, we use, I'm a big data person. One of the things that the nerd that I am, I just believe you can optimize process by looking really at understanding the data behind what you do. And so we've really spent a lot of time and effort working with, Power BI is the technology we use to build out our data infrastructure. And that's been huge for us in being able to optimize our engine that our independently operated staffing companies leverage. There's probably more technology. There's just so much that we're doing around this stuff. The newest thing that is that I acquired after right at the time in which we were exiting Able to Bullhorn. I acquired a company called Preos Health out of Austin, Texas, and that was the entryway into these talent platforms, talent staffing platforms, or hiring marketplaces. There's a variety of different terms that people use, but I really felt that is going to be the future of where this industry goes, and I wanted to get in early on to figure out if we could be an early innovator or adopter in that space.
Well, great segue. Why don't you talk a little bit more for folks, because I think you're right. These words get thrown out in talent marketplace and hiring platforms and self-service type things. Like, from your mind, like the talent marketplace, what is your vision for that? What does that look like for you?
So, I'll start that when I started my company 22 years ago, I didn't do it. It wasn't just about making money. I really wanted to do something that was meaningful and purposeful. And so by design, I've always been trying to think about, what is this industry missing? Why does this industry have such bad scores when it comes to the experience they deliver to their customers? Like, what we do is so important. We match talent with opportunity. I know I'm going a little bit tangent, but just 2 days ago, I had somebody that I haven't spoken to in 4 years send me a Facebook Messenger. We had helped him with a low-level person 6 years ago. He wanted to just tell me, because he didn't have my email address. He sent me said, "I want you to know that guy you provided, he was an assembly worker or whatever, now manages 150 people at my company." That is freaking awesome.
Isn't it?
It is awesome.
Feeling.
It is the best feeling. And obviously we don't get to do that each and every time that we make a placement, but that is what we're able to accomplish for not only that person that manages 150 people, but that business that was able to grow because of that person that we put into that seat. So what we do is so important, but it's not respected that way. And so when you go ahead.
No, no, it's hard to say it's not respected that way. I mean, it's tough to when to talk about that and why I kind of started Great Recruiters. You said it there. How do you manage the experience if you're not measuring it? And if the experience that we create, that we promise, is so awesome, then why was the reputation so bad? And I think it is because people approach this business and have approached it all about the money, right? I don't think they value the recruiters and the engagement and the people that they're placing. They're just looking at putting butts in the seats. Now, I will say that is all, I see it changing. I really see it changing. I see,
100%.
even when technology and automation came on, it was about, hey, make all your recruiters the same through automation. And like that was the miss. The value of automation is go create better experiences for the people that you're serving and supporting, right? Use technology to make their experience with your brand better. And so when you do that and you have that focus, you let your people do what they do best, which is talking to that gentleman, getting them aligned to the right job. And obviously you did an outstanding job there, because 6 years later, here he is, he's grown in his career. I mean, what does that say about your brand as a recruiter as well as an organization? I mean, it just speaks volumes.
Yeah, it speaks volumes, and we need to trumpet that more often, those wins and those successful things, because at the end of the day, the industry by design, our product, who we work with are human beings. And no matter what we can or do, whatever technology we put to it, it's never going to be 100% perfect each and every time.
Right.
Because people are people, and that's the reality. So, but we can do it consistently. We can have more opportunities where we create that type of result for our customers when we think about how we optimize the way in which we work, how we treat our employees, how we hire internally, like how we hire recruiters, how we train them. There's so much that we can do to really optimize the experience that we provide our customers. Years ago, our mission statement has actually nothing to do with what we do. There's everything to do with how we want to come to everything that we do in our life. It's, we
Right.
want to deliver amazing experiences that drive great results. There's nothing about staffing in there.
Right.
So when we apply that mission to staffing, which I did many years ago, I started thinking about the experience.
Yep.
And started developing things around how we give people a better experience, because I believe if we do that on a consistent basis, we're going to drive great outcomes, and our industry will be elevated as a result. People will look at us differently.
Yep. I mean, that's one of our missions is to transform the industry one recruiter at a time. If we can create better experiences down to that desk level, it's going to do wonders for the organization. And I think you're spot on with having that. We always thought one of our mantras where I was at was build relationships for life. It was something when I started as a recruiter, I was not taught. I was taught get job, find candidate, place. If they didn't fit, move on to the next. And I missed that important thing of like, you have 100% of an opportunity to create value for 100% of the people that you engage with. It doesn't mean I have to place them, but I can add value. I can create a great experience. So, I have people that still, I haven't recruited in 5 years directly. I have people that still come to me to say, I have somebody looking for a job because of the way they were treated. And I think when you create those experiences and you have a culture behind that and leadership supporting it, their job gets easier, right? As a recruiter, your job shouldn't, that's why there's burnout, because you're not looking long-term, and you need to look at the long-term investment that you're making in those relationships. Because as a recruiter, your job should get easier. You should rely less on, the inbound, and you should really be able to drive that personal network to increase referrals and have long-lasting success.
Exactly. That's how it should be.
Yep.
And we're not there yet. And I think, what I kind of studied over time is that when you really think about what we do to make a transaction, to get it, to secure a job order, to the time in which a temporary person is placed. We're talking about temporary staffing in this moment, and then you have to manage that active placement. And then when that person is finished with their placement, you have to, if they're still in market, how do you redeploy them? And so the workflow to drive a great experience actually is really complicated. People don't realize it. There's a lot of inputs that need to be done, and there's multiple parties that are interacting in that experience. You have the recruiter. You have people who might be working on that recruiter's team. might have a salesperson that brought in the order. You might have a customer, a business who has a person, and you have the talent. Ultimately, all of these are human beings. All of these human beings have different perceptions, different realities about what they're seeing in that moment. And as a recruiter, when you're trying to match talent with opportunity, you've got to get everybody on the same page and aligned so that you can actually create a successful transaction. And to do that successfully, this requires a lot of touches, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And as we talked about earlier, a typical recruiter comes in every day and it's not standard. Like, things happen. I walk in and, oh my God, 3 people didn't show up for work.
Right.
And then, oh my God, another customer just said, I need 20 people for tomorrow. And they might be different disciplines or jobs that you're recruiting for. So you might not have a strong inventory built up in one. So you got to go recruit for that. There's just so much going on. And so what often happens is that those touch points that are needed to happen to create the best experience oftentimes drop off.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get done, and that can decrease the overall experience your customers have. And so automation is imperative, which is why we're big on this. But I think when I really look at things, there's just a lot of friction to create a result, which is why I do feel that these talent, let's say, call them talent platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just use that, talent platforms. Those are also hiring marketplaces, whatever the audience thinks. So it's around the same thing, but they're really gaining traction because they remove a ton of friction,
right?
And they also align to how people make decisions today. And I know I'm getting a little bit long-winded, but I just kind of level setting like why I think some of these things. So when you look at the last 15 years and you saw you wanted to take a vacation. You go to TripAdvisor. You're going to go look at different things on the website. You're going to look at the resort. You're going to look at where it's at before you actually make a decision. If you want to buy a car, you don't just go to the car dealership anymore. You first go online and you do a lot of research. And you see a lot of things, and then you go to the dealership to buy, right? With our industry, in the traditional way, Adam, you call Aaron. I'm the recruiter. You tell me what you need. You don't see the inventory. You don't see it. I go into my database. I'm going to go and see who I think and who I talk to, who I think are the best people for you.
Right.
And you are 100% controlled by the decisions I make and who I present to you. And that's actually not consistent with how other industries have given the optionality for customers to self-service their needs.
I look at the consumerization of getting a job. I think job seekers, we are in a situation where all of the research is out there. I'm researching. A recruiter calls me as a candidate. If I haven't heard of you, what am I doing? I'm Googling you, right? I'm reading your reviews. I'm looking at what people said. I'm looking at your website. Does it match what I'm reading online? Is there a meet the team page? I'm doing all of my research. I'm not just picking up the phone and calling back. And you have to create, especially in this remote world, you got to create that digital trust. And that digital trust is your reputation. It's transparency through the people that have engaged with you, that have shared that information. It's so imperative to get them in that realm. But I mean, the job seeker today is in control. They are doing more research. They want more things at their fingertips, and they want to find a job in the same way that they're going to find a car, buy a product, go to a restaurant. I mean, it's the consumer mindset. And so that's where I see digital transformation taking place. And hey, I want to get your take. So that's today. I mean, I think it sets the stage big time for where it's going. So flash forward, looking forward here with the evolution of these hiring platforms and talent marketplaces. What's your vision and how this is going to change, one, the way that staffing firms operate? And then 2, I'd love to hear your take on how this is going to impact recruiters in this industry.
Great questions. If I'm being honest, it is the first time that I am concerned, of the traditional staffing model. I'm incredibly passionate about our industry. I believe in it. And I really want to help improve it and make it better. I think these talent platforms, in a lot of ways, are looking to replace the traditional model because they feel like traditional model creates too much friction. it doesn't create the great result, because if it did, the net promoter scores would be better and all of that stuff. So I believe that there's a war already taking place. And the data, like I told you, I'm a data person. It doesn't show. It shows consistency that we should all be we should be mindful of this for sure at this point. Like when you think about, so last year, 2021, there was a 68% growth in temporary staffing hiring platforms, to about 11, I think it was $11.9 billion. Now, healthcare was a huge part of this. There was about a 300% growth in these platforms on that side, but even on the commercial side, there was a 68% year-over-year growth. The global staffing industry, temporary staffing industry, is about $465 billion in last year. These temporary staffing platforms represent about 3%. 3% of that total market. The year before was only 1%. So they doubled, right? Mm-hmm. More than tripled. So it went from 1 to 3. So just imagine, we're still early on in this process. But for example, I was reading an article, actually, somebody shared it with me, from an event that happened with SIA, and they were saying that some of the big speakers there were saying that within 10 years, 100% of the healthcare staffing industry will be run through marketplaces or these temporary staffing platforms. So that's a scary thing to hear.
It is, but I'll tell you what, I mean, we do a lot on the healthcare side, and I talked to some of my clients about this as well. And they're like, I have a take on the recruiter, and I think the recruiter role is going to evolve. And I've kind of used this analogy in the past, and you said, buying an airplane ticket. Technology changed travel agents, because for me to catch a flight to go see you in Cleveland, I don't need to talk to anybody. It's low risk, low cost. I'm going to go buy a ticket online. But if I'm going to go move to Cleveland, right, I'm not going to just go buy a house on an online marketplace. I'm going to probably want to connect with a trusted realtor that understands the neighborhood, that understands the where I'm living and what my needs are. And that's where I see the realtor's value used to be their MLS listings, much like a recruiter's value used to be their jobs. But now jobs are available everywhere, and I can go find a house anywhere. But now I rely on that realtor to help be an advisor, to walk me through something that is a big life-changing event, like moving houses and moving to a new town. And I see an element of the staffing industry where it's going to be higher transaction, where marketplaces are going to take that over, right? It's low risk. I'm going to go take a gig. I'm going to go take a job. We already see it in the gig economy. But then if I'm looking to make a big move professionally, am I going to make that move without really talking to somebody? It seems like this role of the recruiter to becoming this talent agent, to helping me make good decisions. That's where the role of technology is changing that role from less of a transactional, I'm going to make the match, to more of a, consultative approach of, let me help you make the best decision. And I don't know, what's your take on that?
100%. It's funny. I'm completely aligned to this, to what you're saying. And so, when Gerald Hetrick, who was the former CEO of Able, when he first took over the opportunity to take that startup and to take it what it was, he didn't come from the staffing industry. And I told him, this was back in 2016. I said, the future is that technology will replace those recruiters who are really just processing things through.
Yep.
But the recruiters who are truly artists, those talent agents, those artists which exist, there are people who just have an amazing knack for making connections with people. And I don't think technology can solve for that. And I think those people absolutely matter. And I think the industry will evolve to really kind of have more of a hyper focus on the artist within our space. Those people who really are recruiting, like you said, higher functioning jobs, higher evolved jobs, things of that nature. I think are absolutely going to be still in play. Our head of marketing, Whitney Cornuke, she kind of framed it up really nicely a few months ago for us as we were thinking about this with TalentLaunch, is that we want to be the best buy in our industry. Like, and when you think about, if you read Good to Great with Jim Collins, you know, Circuit City was one of those best great companies, right? They're not here. They're not here anymore.
I was just at Best Buy with my son last night, and I'm like, God, I forget what was around, like Radio Shack, but it was Circuit City was the one. Yeah,
Circuit City was the big competitor, but Best Buy early on realized that technology, that e-commerce space, the retail space was gonna hit them hard, and they reconfigured their business, saying that we're not going to move away from technology. We're going to figure out where technology plays the role that it needs to play in, but where people need to be involved in that process and really hyper focus their workflow to insert people where they matter. Because like you said, Adam, people matter. Recruiters matter. People matter to this process. We are doing something that is incredibly sensitive. Somebody's career is incredible. It's impactful to their entire life existence, how they feed their families, how they find their purpose, all of that stuff. That matters. I don't think technology can solve all of it. I think people need to be a part of that process. And so we're incredibly inspired and motivated to figure out where people matter most and find ways to make them matter in that moment.
And find out what value they provide at what most meaningful moments and insert them in those different value points. I mean, even if you're in that marketplace and something doesn't go right or you don't get a paycheck, like, are you going to rely on a technology to help you out? A lot of times you want to pick up the phone and know that somebody's there by your side to help you. And so it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. I love to measure and talk to you in 10 years to see if all healthcare is through a marketplace. I
doubt that it'll happen to 100%, but it's going to scale. And I think for us, you know, one of the reasons why I acquired Preos, where as I said earlier, a lot of these marketplaces or platforms are competing directly with the traditional staffing agency.
Yeah.
What I want to do is like I did with EmployStream and Able, where we recognize the benefit that it had for those companies within our network, and we realized it actually can help the industry as a whole. So we put it outside of our business to be able to sell it to other companies so that they can see the value that we saw, so we can make the industry better. Go ahead.
No, please.
What I want to be able to do with Preos is position it so that we can sell it to other staffing companies like EmployStream and Able. But in this regard, I look at it as giving them a sword and shield. So how do we integrate it into their core ATS systems that they're working with, but give as a result, so the databases within their current database also lives in their private marketplace, so they can create their private marketplace. So all security, so it's their private marketplace they can invite people into, their customers into, but give their customers a self-service option. Give their talent, because everything Preos has been built around is the talent experience. Give that talent the ability to self-select, to see what's going on and to kind of interact and make decisions and make choices without a recruiter if they want to.
Yep.
I don't think, like to your point, I don't think today's world, we're ready to go pure technology. But I think the traditional staffing agency has to be incredibly mindful of what is happening. And then they need to start thinking about how do we give optionality to our customers today? How do we give them that self-service optionality or that gig feel? Or how do we give them that? And I think Preos, in my mind, Preos is that option. And that's what we're building out for the industry, and not to compete with the staffing industries, but give them a sword and shield so they can compete with those pure tech plays that want to take them out.
Right. Technology companies that happen to place people. Right.
Yes.
I mean, changing the way the staffing firm traditionally operates. And I don't know, I'm resilient on the recruiters. You know, the job boards didn't take us down. LinkedIn didn't take us down. There's a lot of technology out there. It seems like everybody's trying to remove it. And people working with people, I don't think 100% you're going to be able to remove people from the process. But I think you're spot on. It's understanding at what point does the right person get injected into that process to ensure a consistent and great experience for the people that we're serving.
Right. I mean, when you think about healthcare, for example, like one of the benefits that Preos provides is that it does the most of the credentialing process in an automated fashion, and it creates a briefcase for a nurse so that they can, and it's a living briefcase, so it's constantly updating their credentials and compliance needs. Before that, you know, a staffing agency might have a few people working to manually get all of that done and and it
Right.
takes a lot of time and effort. Within 19 minutes of this person applying with Preos and time they're done, all of it's already in their briefcase. Like no one had to do anything.
And
Like
it improves yeah, I mean, that's where technology is improving the process, making it more efficient, right? Let them get the right people vetted in first, then talk and get aligned to the right jobs and not have to worry about all that, operational stuff that technology can help take care of.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, hey, we're getting wrapping up on time here, Aaron. It's great to chat with you. Just key takeaways. I mean, if someone were to take 3 key takeaways from your perspective and where you're going, what do you feel that the most important things are?
Well, I think really looking at the technology that exists, look at companies like Great Recruiters, and really thinking about your business from an experience standpoint, and really getting centered around that. How do you make the experience better for your clients, for your talent, for your recruiters? And if you really build things around that mindset, you're going to grow and you're going to stay relevant for many years to come. I think that's incredibly important. And then I'll just put a pitch if you're looking to sell your business. TalentLaunch is we are absolutely in the market to look at to be the succession plan for successful staffing companies that don't have one. So feel free to reach out to me at TalentLaunch.
So how do people, if people want to know more about what you're doing and TalentLaunch, Prius, all that, how can folks get a hold of you, Aaron?
I think you can always email me. Should I get my email address or?
That's fine. It's up to you. It's your email address.
It's Grossman, Grossman at mytalentlaunch.com. You can also visit our website at mytalentlaunch.com. And Preos, preoshealth.com, I believe, or preos.com. I can't remember honestly, but would be the marketplace solution that we're providing other staffing agencies.
Awesome. Well, hey man, this has been great. I love catching up. I didn't even get into the whole wrestler piece I wanted to get into. It's probably another 30-minute segment, but I love what you're doing. I mean, I love the fact you started in this industry, you grew a business, you saw problems, you invested in the technology, and you continue to do it. And I definitely see you as someone who's going to help continue to shape the future of the staffing industry. And I'm just so grateful to have you as a partner of Great Recruiters, and just really appreciate you sharing your time and insights with everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great being a part of this. Thanks for inviting me. And I think I'll be seeing you at ASA
I'll see you
in a couple weeks.
And I think we've got Healthcare Staffing Summit will also be there. So
so I'll see you there too.
A lot of great connections. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you, LinkedIn community. Thank you, Aaron Grossman. Really appreciate you jumping on here. And if you do want to learn more about TalentLaunch, go visit their site. If you want to learn more about Great Recruiters, check us out at greatrecruiters.com. You can always connect with us on LinkedIn. And other than that, have a great Wednesday.